Put that coffee down.
A company is simply a group of people.
Project yourself to age 80. Think back over your life.
You want to get your work ethic so high.
7 days a week, all the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Humans of Business.
And welcome to this episode 0 of Humans of Business. This is a podcast in which we talk to successful business people and entrepreneurs about what has happened in their life and what has led them to be in business and to be entrepreneurial. And I guess the guts of what I'm trying to get at is, what is the difference between someone who decides to spend their life in business and in entrepreneurialism versus the person that decides to take a nice safe job and get 4 weeks a year annual leave and the holidays and the sick pay and all those sorts of things? Why would someone be motivated? Some people are motivated by money, other people are motivated by their passion, by what they love, and that just happens to take them in a direction that allows them to make money and to make a business out of it. And joining me in the studio is my wife and the photographer, Connor. How are you, Connor?
Good, thank you.
Good. So the genesis for this podcast essentially comes out of me having my own small business, or you and I having our own small business, which essentially consisted of me out on the road and you at home doing the paperwork and looking after the small children, as is so often the case in small business. And when I was out and about on the road, I naturally would talk to my customers and people I was working with and for. And a lot of them were in business, and talking to them and getting their stories about where they came from and what they did to get to where they are and their trials and tribulations and their successes and their failures was super interesting. And you and I spent a lot of time around the kitchen table after work just chatting about these different people and what they've been through.
Yeah, look, I was envious, actually, of your position, even though you worked really hard. And although, you know, I'm sure all parents out there can agree that sometimes if you are a stay-at-home parent, you probably would love to go out and do full-time work, because sometimes that would be the easy option. Likewise, for people working full-time, it'd be nice to be at home. Everyone's got their, you know, dream day type of thing. But yeah, you used to come home and it was a real passion of yours to relay the conversations that you had with these clients. And to me, I was just amazed at the amount of stories of people. And some of these people were like sometimes in the same street that we live in, that just had, like, you wouldn't know that there was someone in your street that had such an amazing story to be told.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, the thing that I found was when you actually start talking to people, they kind of open up. And I guess it comes down to that genuine interest. I mean, having our own small business, and I was studying, an MBA at uni at the time, and I had a genuine interest in business and these people and what they'd done to get to where they are. And they're genuinely nice people, and they're interested in sharing their stories and their, like I say, their successes and their failures in an effort to try and help people. And the other thing that I did a lot while I was working was listen to podcasts. I love podcasts. I'm just a big fan of podcasts. So the crazy idea came up one day that why don't I record these conversations that I'm having with these people and turn this into a podcast?
Yeah, we always joked about it. I always used to think, oh gosh, you could make a story with a book with the stories that you've told. And I mean, also it sort of debunks a lot of misconception of people that are in business, and you kind of expect people who ran and earned a certain level of
income.
would be living a certain way, or even just walking around a certain way, chins high, briefcase. You kind of have these funny little cartoon visions in your mind. Well, I do. But they're normal people. They've just got extraordinary stories.
Yeah, yep. So, again, in this series, we're going to talk to multi-millionaire business owners who have run, businesses in certain industries for decades. Other people we talk to who are just starting out on their journey in this business world, who have, some of which have had to drag themselves out of certain socioeconomic environments to be where they are. Other people who have spent their life in the corporate world as an executive, and then in later in life, in their 50s, have decided to strike out on their own. And the differences between working in a corporate and working for yourself, or working in a business and then growing that business and deciding where to take that business, they're very interesting. And I think anyone who's looking to be in business, or who is in business, can get a lot out of these conversations, that they can actually take this information and apply it to their own life and to their own business to a degree. So your part in this whole project is to take the portraits of the guests.
Which actually was a natural progression, really, because I would hear these stories, and being in the position I am, where I already create imagery from maybe someone's personality, a lot of the time I hadn't met these people yet. And it was interesting to see how close I was to having the right image in my mind to go with the story. I could talk forever on that, but some people have an image and it's just there, and there's no other image to be had. It's like it was always there, and that just tells their whole life.
So, as I say, each week, structure-wise, each week we're going to be releasing a new podcast. There's going to be 2 sections to the podcast. The first section is going to be a part called the 10 in 10. So in that section, I will ask the same 10 questions to each guest and get their responses. Now, the absolute irony of the 10 in 10 is, as I was writing the questions, I thought we should be able to get through these in 10, maybe 15 minutes. So 10 questions, 10 minutes. Some of these 10 in 10s are taking an hour. So I've gone back through them and I've had a look, and there's not really any content that I want to cut out of it. Given podcast being the medium that it is, you can stop it, you can start it, you can fast forward it, you can go back if you want to. So my thinking is, I'll leave this content in there. As much information as these wonderful guests are willing to give, I will give to the listener. So that's the 10 in 10 section. The main interview section is really free form. I basically start asking questions about where they grew up, and then we just go where the conversation takes them. We want to get a rough timeline of, where they went to school, what their influences were, how they got into business, those sorts of things. But apart from that kind of general outline, we really are just having a conversation. And my aim is to make it so that you, the listener, are the third person at that table during this conversation. You're sitting with us having a coffee or a glass of wine or whatever it may be, and you're listening to these conversations, and you are able to soak in what these wonderful people have to say. So we've got a Facebook page, Humans of Business at Facebook, and jump on there and like that, and we will send updates through every week when these podcasts drop. And please feel free to share the Facebook page and also the podcast. If you rate and review the podcast, it makes a huge difference to our ratings in the in the iTunes rankings, I guess, and that means we can. The higher we are up in those ratings, it means the more we can get this out to people, and we can keep doing it essentially. Our website is www.humansofbusiness.com, and there you'll find the photos, the stories, and you can get in contact with us, which you can get in contact with us at any time. The email is humansofbusiness@gmail.com. Feel free to drop us a line, give us some notes on the show if you like the way it's set out, if you think something should be different. We'd love to hear from you. And I think that just about covers it for episode 0, doesn't it, Connor?
I think so. I think it's time to just have a listen and be inspired.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you can get all the new ones. And feel free to drop us a line. We'd like to hear from you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.